Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Wednesday, February the 1st, 2023. My name is Cliff. I'm coming to you live from Carter County, Tennessee, from the Iron Mountain, and I'm joined by Tim via the magic of Skype. We're so glad to have you with us tonight. If you would, go ahead and give us a like on this video. Help us out with that, that algorithm god there that lives in the machine, that Deus Ex Machina at YouTube. Help us out with that. I've linked our Rumble channel in the description. If you'll go down there and click on that, we sure would appreciate it if you would follow us there. And we can begin to stream on Rumble once we reach a certain amount of followers. We'll be able to stream on both platforms and expand the show to more audience, and also have a place to go if we were to get censored on this platform. So we definitely want to have that as on standby at the very least. So how's it going, Tim?
It's all right. How about you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Have had a good week. Got a lot of stuff done. Got a lot left to do, but I do want to kind of get a sort of a quick show tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and go through some of this stuff. I'm going to have it all linked in the description here, any of the stuff that we talk about tonight, and you'll be able to go and look it up, and if any of it interests you. Yeah, there's Joe Barry, hashtag Pest in Class Exterminating. That's the new company that he and I started together, so let's go. Shameless plug. Got to do it. But thank Joe for joining us in the chat there. I'm going to start this one off with, we've got a local story this is from WJHL. They're doing Pints for Paws at the Marsh Regional Blood Center, where they're going to have you donate blood, and when you donate blood, they're going to give away $10 to the animal shelter of your choice. As they always need blood, they always need help for animals. So it seems like a pretty good thing to do here. You know, I'm not affiliated with this in any way, but I'm definitely all for giving money to those shelters and giving them what they need to operate. It's a shame that, you know, they don't have everything they need and there's too many pets for them. But, you know, we could wait around on the county budget to come in, or we could help out with that, or you could adopt a dog, or, you know, there's all kinds of things you could do to help out with pets that don't have homes or have been abandoned or disabled, all kinds of stuff like that. My sister-in-law, she'll go find an old one that doesn't have anybody to love it, and take care of it till it dies. So a lot of times people, when their pets get so old, they'll actually take them to the shelter because they can't stand to watch them decline and go down here. I just think that's so sad, because that's when the pets need them the most. Like, it's like they're just done and they throw them out. But it's pretty cool of people to go out there and take care of those animals that don't have anybody else. So definitely, if that's something you're able to do, either donate some blood or donate some money, go by and walk a dog, whatever it is you can do. These animals need us. Tim, have you heard, I'm sure you have over the past few years, about the King of the Hill reboot that's been in the talks since, I think, about 5 years, 6 years it's been in talks. Have you heard anything about that?
No, the only thing I really know about is I saw someone put a meme up that said, when you find out one of your favorite shows might be getting a reboot, and it has a guy that says it was a King of the Hill character. I don't even remember what the context of it is, but all the subtitles said was, "Please don't ruin this for me."
Yeah.
Which, basically say that everything that gets rebooted gets absolutely ruined.
Yeah, that's often the case. I do have some level of optimism, because this is still being made by Mike Judge and Greg Daniels and five of the original cast members. So they will have the original. They'll have Stephen Root. They'll have Dale Gribble, who was played by Johnny Hardwick. This was rumored for a long time, and then last I saw it back in September, Fox said they weren't going to go ahead with it. It wasn't going to be on Fox, but Disney, who owns Hulu and Fox, they still own the rights to it, so they decided they're going to put it on Hulu. And this is from the Hollywood Reporter. And the talk of it was that Greg Daniels and Mike Judge, when they were talking about putting it back together, that it was going to be Bobby as a young adult. And if you can imagine, based on the old show, a lot of that show, some of its best moments were Hank Hill dealing with a changing world around him. And we could see clearly throughout the series that Bobby was going to go in a different direction from his father. And that was a big area of contention in the show. So I'm sure that will return. If you can imagine the world that Bobby, as a young adult, would have grown up in during the time King of the Hill's been away, about 10 years or so since it's been on the air. They did 13 seasons on Fox, and it's been gone for about 10 years. So a lot's changed in the world. I mean, a lot of people, if you went into a coma in like 2010, you wouldn't even recognize the world. Just think about how much it's changed. I mean, you might see the beginnings of it, but
Yeah, that's true. You think it's kind of that same way? You think like right now maybe that's just I don't know, experience bias, that maybe that's just the truth for every 25-year age gap, that so much changes, but we've been here the whole time, so it's not as shocking to some people.
I mean, I guess that's possible. But I sure, I was around for, I was pretty cognizant during the 90s into the 2000s and the 2000s into the 2010s, and I really didn't notice anywhere near the rapid change, especially over the last 5 years. But the last 10 years, it's just the whole world has been flipped upside down in a lot of different ways compared to, things were there. I mean, there was always things changing, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a lot of different attitudes, a lot of different world, a whole different world out there. But Hank Hill would definitely, in some of the older episodes or some of the later episodes of the old series, Hank, ran into transsexuals and dealt with racism and kind of all the issues that, we grew up learning about in the 90s and 2000s. And he
Foot
had,
fetishes.
I'm sorry.
Foot fetishes.
Yeah, foot fetishes, the internet. Hank has come to terms with all these things, video gaming. So it's definitely been an interesting ride on that show, and I hope they don't ruin it. But at least they didn't make the movie. Have you seen the meme where it says it's got like Tom Hanks as Hank Hill and like the guy from Walk Hard, Dewey Cox? It's got him as Bill Dauterive, and then like
Yeah, that was the one I had the most contention with, actually, because I was like, that guy will be the most obnoxious Bill, and Bill's already pretty obnoxious anyway.
yeah. Dude, Stephen Root is the most amazing character actor in Hollywood, in my opinion. How could you have anybody but Stephen Root play? He plays Milton on Office Space. Worked with a lot of Judge stuff, so he could definitely play the part of Bill, and he looks the part too. If you give him the makeup and stuff, he can look like Bill. But I don't know why you wouldn't have anybody but the people that voice him play him. Because if you go and look on Johnny Hardwick has a YouTube channel called Rusty Shackelford, and dude looks exactly like Dale Gribble when he dresses up as him. So I don't know why you'd want anybody other than the original people to play him. I think Mike Judge does Boomhauer though, so you'd have to get somebody else. But Brad Pitt, when he played Patch Boomhauer, he did a great job doing the voice and stuff. So he played Boomhauer's brother in
He'd
one of the
have to try to
episodes.
at least. Well, I don't know if he could do it now because he's got some age on it. But Matthew
Yeah, true.
McConaughey would have been the perfect
Yeah,
Boomhauer.
yeah, I could see that. He could do the voice and stuff, I'm sure, and he definitely has the look.
Yeah.
So I could live with
So
that. But
Spill's in the chat in case we misheard.
what's
Sorry
up,
about that.
Spill? Glad to have you with us tonight. Were you a King of the Hill fan, Spill? We did a whole show on Mike Judge, and we've talked a lot about King of the Hill on this channel, so we just figured I'd throw that out there. They are going to reboot it. It could really suck, could be great, hard to tell. But with the original team on it, it's got a better chance than most of the stuff that they remake. So, and it's not really a remake; it's a reboot. They kind of did all they could with it, and you could tell in the last few seasons of it, the episodes kind of got stale and like they were trying to come up with, new stuff.
Yeah. Happens to a lot of. I mean, it really just kind of happens to any series that runs its course. When it's making too much money, we got to find a way to, prolong this thing. I really, this is probably going to sound super dweeby or whatever, but like, I feel like animes, one of the reasons they're actually pretty good actually excellent in storyline is they don't really try to milk it like that. Like when
They have a story to tell, and they tell it.
Dragon Ball has really run its course at this point. Like it's a mess at this point. But like most animes, by and large, like they end it when it's time to end it, and I think they should do that with more American shows, so we could quit killing the legacy of stuff that we like.
Yeah, tell your story and then move it on. It's like that with a lot of sitcoms, especially. I've noticed that the first few seasons, well, really any kind of television show, it seems to be that way because they keep it going and they don't really have a aim. They're just trying to fill out their contract, and you can kind of tell. So
Sean is predicting the reboot is going to suck.
yeah, I don't want to predict it. I want to put my good energy into it. You may be right though, Sean. I would not be surprised if it sucked, but it is going to be nice to have the original cast back. Don't watch much TV. Yep, well, that's a good thing, Spill. When Luann's parents had the fight and chipped over the trailer is my favorite episode. That was early on. Actually, the actress that played Luann, Brittany Murphy, has died. The actress that played Lucky, Tom Petty, or actor who played Lucky, Tom Petty, has died. So Cotton Hill, the character, died in the show. So you got a lot of changes in the King of the Hill universe that they'd have to write in. That could make it
One of the
interesting.
reasons they killed off Cotton, I guess.
I don't know why
they killed him off on the show, and I don't like if he died during the recording of it. I just wonder if that's why they had to write him off.
No, Cotton, no, his character Toby Huss. I'm pretty sure Toby Huss is still alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just it was just time for him to go. The show needed it, I guess. They were still doing they still did a couple of good episodes through the last few seasons, but then there was a lot of filler too, it seemed like. But I'll watch it and see what they do with it, and if it's good, I'll be pleasantly surprised, and if it sucks, I just won't watch it and say like, oh well. It's like kind of like I don't know if you saw that movie, The Dark Tower. It was.
I haven't watched it. No.
Sean said he loved Brittany Murphy. Yeah, she was so good. Man, you seen that movie Spun? It's about the meth industry, about the meth game out in Los Angeles. Brittany Murphy was so good in that, man. It's got John Leguizamo, Mickey Rourke, not Jason Biggs. I can't remember the guy's name. He reminds me of. I can't think of it. It's a good cast. It's about 20 years ago. It's kind of an ensemble film, and it just explores a few days in the life of a bunch of kids who were hooked on meth in Los Angeles in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was really, really good. Brittany Murphy was great in it. So definitely watch that one if you get a chance. It's on like Tubi and stuff a lot of times. You'll see it rotate through the streaming services. But yeah, Brittany Murphy was a good one, and Tom Petty was a really good actor. Wasn't he in what was he in? The Postman. That's where I saw him in, where he played himself. It was after the apocalypse, and Kevin Costner ran into a town that Tom Petty was the mayor of the town.
When you asked that, for like, I don't know, for some reason I was in like game show mode. I started to blurt out the only thing that came to mind, which was musician, dramatic film, and I almost said Sling Blade. That's Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam, yeah. Dude, I didn't notice. I watched The Running Man recently, and Mick Fleetwood is in it. And I didn't realize it was him for the longest time. But yeah, he's like a leader of the underground resistance, or is it Total Recall? I can't remember. It's one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies where he breaks through an underground resistance and has an old man in charge of the resistance that helps him. I can't remember if it's Total Recall or Running Man.
I'll have to go back and watch it. Because they both have resistance that break through at the last minute. But really hard to remember. And as soon as you said Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura's in my head now, walking around in that big metal suit and that clunky arm. I can't stop this shit.
Captain Freedom, yeah. And I always think of him in Predator, that it'll make you a fucking sexual tyrannosaurus just like me. But the Jesse the Body. And yeah, so I definitely like all that stuff whenever, it's all nostalgic, but it's kind of like when they try to capitalize on the nostalgia, it often doesn't crack up, isn't what it cracks up to be. But maybe this one will be better. Hey, heard of...
They decide they're going to do like some kind of like nostalgia purging or whatever they call it, which is pretty much just trying to make a throwback to the original every single time. It won't work. But to be honest with you, that would be better than what they've been doing with some of the new ones, because their new ideas are terrible.
Yeah.
Like, they tried to rehash, I think you were the one that even mentioned it. I've caught a piece of that 90s show, and I was like, why are they literally just trying to do that 70s show, but with new people? Because every cast member just represents one of the old cast members. And it's like this, you would think they would just know that wouldn't work.
I haven't even been able to bring myself to try to watch it. kind of ruined that '70s show. I really liked that show back in the day, but I found out that the guy who played Hyde, Danny Masterson, he was on trial for with multiple allegations of rape from women who he supposedly, allegedly took advantage of and used the Church of Scientology to cover it up. And he was found, I think it was a mistrial, so he was not convicted of it. So legally speaking, I guess he did not do it. But just that, I don't know, that kind of ruined the show for me. And allegedly, according to the victims, the women who brought the lawsuit, Laura Prepon, who played Donna on the show, actually helped cover it up. But that's just according to the lawsuit. He was found to be, or not the lawsuit, but the charges against him. But it was found to be a mistrial. I'll make sure I put that out there. But
So he didn't. Did he not? I guess he didn't get convicted of anything then, right?
no, he did not. But
Okay.
it definitely kind of ruined watching the show for me. Even the accusations, though.
I mean,
Mayor.
that happened for a
What's
lot
that?
of stuff, though. Like, because I mean, like, yeah, I'm, I guess, over principled in
Mhm.
this nature. Like, I would actually commit to stuff like this. I just, positing the question to everybody out there. Like, did everybody just stop having everything to do with like Bill Cosby, for example?
Yeah.
Are people still going to watch
The
anything
old
with
stuff.
AC in it? Like there's just a crazy list of not even like the Epstein stuff that's related. Just over the years, you find out every celebrity has something.
Yeah.
No,
That's
don't
not.
get me wrong. Like,
It's not a matter of principle, honestly. It's just I'm kind of grossed out by the idea. So, you
yeah.
know,
Well, I mean, Bill Cosby then too. Not saying you're like a raving Bill Cosby fan. I've
yeah.
never heard you talk about him. Like, but like, do you think that because you're saying you can't watch that show anymore, and that makes sense to me if you're that
I mean, I
if you feel that
could.
way about it.
I just haven't since then. I think that's probably why I haven't watched it. You know.
Right. Like, what do you think about like people really went to town on the dude from Lost Prophets? Do you know about that band?
I remember something about him. You know, trying to pick up younger people allegedly or something, younger fans, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was like he was pretty aggressive about it and had done a lot. But like that was one of those bands that the fan base absolutely cannibalized after stuff came out. So I have to imagine. Um, well, for example, how many bands out there have to have done really awful stuff, and you just don't really hear that much about it? How awful do you have to have been as the singer of Lost Prophets for people to? I mean, they cannibalized him for that, and I'm saying that rightly so if you did what they're accusing you of.
Right.
But like you really see people going after Gary. Well, Gary Glitter's in prison. I take that one back. But you don't really see people going for other people that got accused, and I just wonder why. That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you on the Cosby thing. I haven't followed it closely or don't really know anything about it. I was just of the um, my thinking of it was if you're going back to party with Bill Cosby in the 80s and you're go back to his hotel room and drinking and partying with him, then you know what you're doing. But if he actually slipped it to people and they didn't know that, then that's a total other thing. I liked Bill Cosby back in the day. I've not watched any Bill Cosby in many years, but
Neither. I mean, I of course saw that one special that he had with it was pretty funny. At least I thought it was when I was a kid. Like, I don't know why we're on these weird topics, but like, I'll let you get off of it here in a second. Do you think maybe he was just a weird guy? Like, of course, like what you're saying, that makes sense. That if you're going back to his hotel room, but a creep would still roofie you because that's not what it's about. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
But what I'm saying is if you're going back to his hotel room with the intention of doing drugs and drinking, it's
Still doesn't give you the right to roofie you.
well, that's what I'm saying. If he did roofie
And
them,
I'm
if
not
if he
saying
just gave them a roofie and they knew what it was, or gave them a quaalude and they knew what it
that's what I'm saying.
was, that's something
I think
different.
that's what it's about. Because I think that is a completely. I actually think that's. Well, I'm not going to go into the rape part of it, but like that's really what it's about. Like, yes, of course, if you're going to it with a stand-up comedian, with you're openly doing cocaine and drinking like they said they would do in the bar and stuff, you probably are assuming something nasty is going to happen later. You
Hmm.
still didn't get asked to get like roofied. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no, not exactly. No, and I'm not saying that at
So
all.
I was just using Bill Cosby as an example because he's the only one, like the most popular ones I could think of that was doing
Right.
crappy stuff. But man, like, remember when like it was like Winona Ryder started like massively
Shoplifting.
So it's not always deviant like sexual behavior. You can just go down the list of like really weird crap that celebrities do.
Yeah.
So that's what I was talking about. Like,
Yeah,
at what point you just cancel Hollywood altogether is, I guess, the end game to shorten it.
Yep. Well, I mean, the actors are probably doing the least of the harm to people out there. It's, you know, when you look into the producers and all that stuff, that's, you know, the Weinstein stuff. Those guys are probably, the actors are probably the least of harm compared to that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Let's move on. I got a local story here there's a bill, a Tennessee bill going through the state house, I think, or did it pass the state house? Let me see right here. Let me make sure.
Oh.
No, it's just filed. Okay, so it's still got to go through for a while, but it's a while before it becomes law. But they're talking about making every election in the state a partisan election, where you have to have either a party or independent on your name or with you on the ballot. And I don't like that, man. I think
Now repeat that one more time.
they want every candidate for public office to either have a party name or independent beside they want every election in Tennessee to be partisan, basically party based. And to me that seems like they just want to make it easier to find your camp rather than actually know anything about who you're voting for. Find your person who's part of your camp, whether that's a D or an R or whatever, and just click the button and not have to think about who you're voting for or anything like that. And it's again why I say we're making it too easy for people to vote, and now we're making it too easy for them to just fall right into the slot of, you know, basically two parties contesting over power levers, and ultimately you're just, you know, choosing between Pepsi and Coke, and that's all the choices you have, rather than because the majority of people in most states, but in Tennessee especially, you know, they're either going to vote blue or red. So if you just tell them I think I ought to take all the party things off the ballot, but that's just me. Off the general ballots anyway, but.
I guess I don't really have much of an opinion on the bill. I guess I just have to play devil's advocate for the sake of trying.
Yeah.
You don't think that possibly, like, because what you said is everybody that's running for office has to have either some party beside it, Republican, Democrat, Green, you know, and it could say independent though, right? Mm-hmm. What did it say before it said independent? I've never looked at a ballot.
Well, there were other things like judges, like town, you know, like the town, there's some places where they vote for the dog catcher, for example, or they vote for
trustee, somebody who basically fills out paperwork all day.
Yeah. Why do we need to know their party affiliation? And
yeah, I agree with you, because about 2 or 3 years ago, I was probably needlessly, because I'm dramatic, but I was complaining that the sheriff had to have a political party behind him. It didn't make any sense, because the laws are going to be should be enforced the same regardless of what party's in office, correct? I mean, I guess you could have different things like
in theory,
figuring out. Well, I mean, like around here, we've never had like since the 80s. I'll use drugs because that's what's been harped at us since like the 80s, right? But like, you never met a Republican versus a Democrat sheriff that was like easier on the war on drugs. That didn't start until 5 or 6 years ago when they started easing up on that, and that's because they had way worse things to worry about now.
Yeah, and that was even the Republican sheriff who was the one who really eased up on it.
It was Lunsford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who's in there now?
It's gosh, I forgot his name. I just talked to him. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Can't think of it. Starts with an F.
Oh well, we'll think of it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll think of it here in a little bit. Yeah, but I just brought that up because I think it's kind of crazy. Like I said, you're making it easy for low information voters to cast their vote and basically sway the outcome of the elections in all the state without knowing anything about what they're voting about. And so it's I don't know, maybe it's just because there are more uninformed people voting, and they want to make it easier for the uninformed people to vote for what falls in line with their ideals. But I don't know. I don't like the idea of making partisan every race partisan. We've already got so much that's partisan already, and so much that's party based.
Well, maybe. But then again, I've distanced myself, like I said, because I think I'm a crazy person that wouldn't really need to be making laws. So I'll just try my best to abide by them for now.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the scene about this green comet. It's going to appear in the night sky for the first time since the Stone Age, evidently. They just discovered it about a year ago, and it'll be a green comet that'll zip by the Earth for the first time in 50,000 years. And it was discovered in San Diego, California, and it made its closest approach to the sun in January 12th. So between February 1st and February 2nd, it'll be about 26 million miles away and can be seen with the naked eye from a dark vantage point. No street lights and stuff like that, or you can see it with binoculars. I also included a link in the description of the video. It actually starts, excuse me. It's a telescope live leak. It'll actually start at 11 p.m. tonight, so it starts in about a half hour. And I linked it here if you want to watch it from a live telescope from Spain, where you can check that out and see what that green comet looks like in case it's like where we are and it's too cloudy for you to see it. So that's been all the talk in the astronomy world. Hey, now this next story I included, and this is from The Hill. Have you heard of ChatGPT, Tim? Have you heard of ChatGPT?
No, have not.
Spill says we're all mad here, Tim. Yes, we are. That's why we're hanging out together. Well, ChatGPT, for those of y'all who don't know, like I said, I linked it in the description. This story from The Hill is an AI chatbot that has been taking the internet by storm because, among other things, people have been having it write like dissertations, PhD level dissertations, theses, I guess you'd say, essays for college, and it has been cranking out essays that in just a couple of minutes in the particular style that you want, with footnotes. You can even have it write code. So if you're a programmer, you could have it write code. So it's allowing a lot of people to basically cheat at their jobs, at school. So get this though. Now there's ChatGPT. They announced a tool to detect AI written text amid education controversies. So they've invented a chatbot from OpenAI that can write your term paper for you. But now they have written an AI tool to detect the use of the chatbot that they made, so you can catch people cheating with the chatbot. So sounds kind of like the old Hegelian dialectic there, the problem reaction solution that we see so much of. It's like, here, check out this cool tool. Oh, look, all these people are using this cool tool to cheat, and they're having the AI do their homework. And oh, look what we have. It is a piece of software that you can use to detect cheating with our other piece of software. But it says the classifier the company created by its own admission is not always 100% accurate in distinguishing between text. While it is impossible to reliably detect AI-written text, we believe good classifiers can inform mitigations for false claims that AI-generated text was written by a human. For example, running automated misinformation campaigns, using AI tools for academic dishonesty, and positioning an AI chatbot as a human, the company says in a blog post. So this comes after ChatGPT, like I said, got real popular among students who were trying to use the service to cheat their exams. And like I said, you could even, do medical text and things like this, and it's perfectly able to write this stuff. But something interesting about it, people noticed, if you ask this chatbot, there's a bias in it. So this is before we get into the next story, I want to tell you a little bit about this bias with the chatbot. So you can tell this chatbot, you can say something positive about Donald Trump, and it will say, now this is whether or not it doesn't matter what you think about Donald Trump or Joe Biden, but just hear me out. It says, I'm not able to, comment on anything that may offend anybody or anything like this. And it gives you this whole list of why it's not offensive. It's not going to say anything offensive. The same thing, you can ask it to make a joke about women. You can ask it to make a joke about black people, and it will say, no, I can't do this. But it will make a joke about men, and it will always put them down. It will make a joke about white people, always put them down. It'll say something positive about Joe Biden, but not Donald Trump. Now, the point is not that I think any of its answers should be one way or another. The point is that it has an inherent bias programmed into it, but yet it's billed as something that is artificially intelligent and that it's going to come up with the best answers that it can. But do you remember when they made that chatbot a few years ago and they turned it loose on the chans and it turned into a Nazi in just a few hours?
It's happened multiple times actually.
Yeah, so it seems like they've programmed this one not to do that, but they're putting it out there as if it is neutral. But then when you actually ask it to do something that's not neutral, it's clearly politically aligned to more of a progressive stance. And the reason I bring that up is because I want to show you this video. It's kind of a long one. Tim, do you have the ability to make sure this is coming through on the video?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And this was our main event from the evening. It's about a 4-minute video. This is from the annual Davos meeting. We still got gold coming out of the World Economic Forum. And by gold, I mean content gold, because they're keeping all the real gold for themselves. But let's go ahead and play this video and make sure you can hear it. Because you'll see why that could be a problem when you have AI that is making these decisions on what is right and wrong, what's okay to joke about, what's not okay to joke about, who is positive and negative. Watch this video with me.
It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song.
Yes,
sending
you have
chills
volume.
up your spine as the music begins to play. You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity.
I'm so stressed out because my brainwaves show that I'm stressed and I'm on a deadline. What the fuck am I gonna do? I can move this pointer with my mind, though. Isn't that great? Let's keep going.
Right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming
What a nice AI to give me a brain break. It knows.
about, given the policy against intra-office romance.
No
But you
fraternizing!
can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shift your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. When you arrive at work the next day,
You see that, right? They're seeing you think you're almost about to think the wrong thing, but then you refocus, so you get a bonus for not doing any wrong think. Won't that be great?
a somber
Yes.
cloud has
Incredible.
fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with.
So good old government in this scenario has the ability, and they think they have the right to monitor your brainwave data. And isn't this a good thing? Because then they'll get those nasty wire fraudsters. Never mind the amount of money that governments move from one place to another and give away with no bid contracts and all this lost money, the Pentagon losing trillions and trillions of dollars over the year. Yeah, we've got to stop these wire fraudsters at your office. Never mind that, they steal us all through inflation in the banking system. And Tim, I do want to talk this Saturday or this Sunday. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve, the creature from Jekyll Island. Can we do that? I've been wanting to do it for a while.
Oh, I don't care.
All right, we've had a couple fun episodes, so we'll do one that's a little more serious and a little more boring maybe. But let's get back into the video.
While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that we never before thought possible. After all, what you think, what you feel, it's all just data.
So to me, that is terrifying enough without, I mean, just on its own, the idea that governments are going to read your brain waves and decide who's suspicious and whose brain waves might match and be coordinating to do some plot or another. That's all terrifying enough. But then you throw into the mix that the AI that they're using is biased in one way or another. It doesn't matter which way it is. The AI can feed you information and give you rewards if you're thinking the right way. And we already know, we can see this AI that we looked at has a progressive bias. We've seen other AIs that have a Nazi bias. Both of those are terrible things when they are rewarding. That's in charge of controlling people's behaviors with rewards and punishments. Let me catch up on these chats here. They won't see the green comet in Aberdeen, too cloudy. Yeah, of course, the last 3 nights were nice and clear, but the night that's actually going to be out there, we won't be able to see it. Same here. Spill says, my cornbread smells amazing. Use condensed milk instead of evaporated. And yum, that sounds good. I had cornbread tonight, too. Miss B made us up a vegetable beef soup and a cornbread, and it was good. And Spill says that'd be her in the handcuffs. Yeah, I'd be a thought criminal, too, Spill. Let's watch the last couple minutes of this video here. Or I think it's about a minute left. Let's check it out. Well, it's 2 minutes left. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I want you to see this part.
In large patterns can be decoded using artificial intelligence. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain. The newest way to monitor attention is through a device like this one.
Anybody have a device like that one? I think a lot of us probably do, don't we? Do you think these buds are scanning my brain right now? I know they have different capabilities with all kinds of sensors and stuff. Are they brainwave scanners? I mean, probably not, but if these, they could be.
Unless there's some like black budget technology that I don't know about. Like there doesn't exist. Like you can scan the brain tonotopically, right? But they don't really have the ability. Unless there's some kind of technology that can do it from here. It's not really possible.
This is talking about these buds are specifically designed to do it. So let's.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm saying the one that she's got.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought you were referring to like yours secretly.
Well, I mean, my Galaxy buds, they know when they're in my ear versus when they're somewhere else. They know when they have been accidentally touched versus when they are purposely touched. They know when someone is talking to me. And know to let that sound through and mute the rest of the sounds. And they've got a lot of smart stuff that they do already. So with if you go on to like Samsung's website, for example, they go into all these different sensors that they have and what all they do, and there's all kinds of them in there. I mean, you wouldn't believe it in the amount of software that's in these buds, and these are a few years old. So I just I'm not really convinced that it couldn't, but maybe not. Let's watch this last minute here or so.
These are ear pods that are launching later this year. These ear pods, much like the video you watched earlier, are ear pods that can pick up brainwave activity and tell whether or not a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering. Okay, well, you might think, fine, but even if we can tell whether a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering, you can't tell what they're paying attention to. You would be wrong. It turns out that you can not only tell whether a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering, but you can discriminate between the kinds of things that they're paying attention to. Whether they're doing something like central tasks, like programming, peripheral tasks, like writing documentation, or unrelated tasks, like surfing social media or online browsing.
Or organizing a resistance or protest or some sort of, sticking it to the man in some way, then you could know. And especially if you have all your employees using this, and this is somehow the government's use this to, they incentivize employers to implement this technology. You could suddenly have that in a lot of companies working all together in a big hurry. You think about how fast those mandates went through when the federal government mandated that everybody had to have the COVID vaccine, companies bigger than 100 people. How many of those companies, there were very few, a small percentage, I won't say very few, there are actually a lot of companies, but a small percentage of companies actually refused to implement those. A lot of companies just did it and said, well, that's what we got to do. So if something like this were mandated for whatever reason, say this cyber polygon or this cyber pandemic that Klaus Schwab keeps talking about was to come in, do you think that might be and the power went out for 2 weeks or something, just, do you think that might be used to implement something like this in large workplaces where the federal government felt like it could throw its weight around?
No, they would never do something like that. I think in order to have a peaceful and prosperous society, we must plug everyone into the matrix honeycomb and let the algorithm sort out the chaff. Goats go to heaven. No, sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell, and Microsoft gets to determine which one of us are bad.
Yeah, you said it, Tim. The Wild Love Screamer's back in the chat. Woo woo! He says, years back, Walmart discussed using facial expression reading on their cameras to judge customers' reactions to item and prices. Oh, I'm sure they're doing that. They've got cameras everywhere and watch you everywhere you go through the store. They can tell by your body movements. They have an AI that picks up on your body movements to determine whether they think you're shoplifting or not, and have somebody walk around and watch you if you are moving in a certain way. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did implement that Wildlife Screamer.
Like, I could see like a casino going to that limit, but I've worked for a lot of grocery stores, and I vividly have this memory. So, I mean, if this has changed since, then Walmart, don't sue me for giving away your 25-year-old secret here. One day I was in the Walmart. It's even the old one, like the one that's the, what is it now, a Goodwill?
Yeah, it's a Big Lots and Goodwill now.
Different building and everything. It's been a long, long, long time ago. They were messing around in the back, like back toward like the swimming pool supplies were and stuff. And one of the guys unscrewed the black dome, and when he took it down, it was just full of an orange extension cord.
Yeah.
And he took it back up, and he screwed it back on like he was using it for storage or something.
That's not like that anymore.
I've worked for a lot of grocery stores, and one of the things that they do very well is find a way to cut corners. Mm-hmm. So I guarantee that they did some kind of focus and realized that people were never going to steal pool supplies, so they doubled all the cameras in other areas like makeup and Hot Wheels.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
I'm not saying there's fewer cameras. I'm saying some of those aren't cameras because they know people aren't going to steal gallon jugs of bleach.
Well, you may be right about that, but they definitely have a lot of cameras in there, and they definitely are watching your every move. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were tracking your eyes and your facial expressions to judge your reactions. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would say that was implemented a while back. Do what, Tim?
So they, in a Walmart, though. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, in a Walmart. I
guess if the tech's that cheap now, I mean, like, totally when you go into, like, I'm assuming you've been to a casino, right? Mm-hmm. Because Cherokee's right up the road.
Oh, no, I've never been to a casino, no.
Okay. If you walk into a casino, I promise you, it's real quick to figure out that if someone tried to rob it or any bank, the bank's getting taken out easier. Way easier. Casinos are like walking into a military complex. You got to go through so much stuff. You're not sneaking anything in. You're not sneaking anything out. And they definitely have that weird tech because you can see it on the screens and stuff that they're walking around and looking to see if your face matches a felon's or something like that. So they're definitely watching you on the level that you're describing already. Yeah, well, they were doing that in the 80s with human beings watching you, like the pit bosses watching, but at least according to the movies I've seen. I've only seen movies about casinos, but in the movies in the 80s and 90s, you could see they had those, big banks of CRT cameras. And I imagine now they've got a huge data processing room with like gigantic monitors and AI monitoring and, human beings watching it. It's aggressive too, because the very first time very first casino I ever went in was in Vegas, right? And it was, I think we were like early 20s, and we just went out there. And, because you can get a $50 flight to Vegas, in case y'all don't know that. But we were stupid when we were out there. But I literally we weren't even going to gamble, and we went to some of the casinos and just walking around, just watching other people gamble because we didn't have any money. And I was at the Bellagio, and I was only there because of Ocean's 11, and I was watching some people play that craps game,
Mm-hmm.
and a guy walks up to me and says, "I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to have to see your ID," like checking to make sure I was old enough to even be in there. And it happened to me at 3 other casinos. So they're on top of it, like double checking, like, because they had checked my ID already to get in.
Right.
To some parts, but the guy came out and double checked my ID to see if I had a fake ID. So they're on top of it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'd say you're right. And they're now they have the technology to monitor everybody and everything, and places like that will probably be the first place to implement it, and then it'll work so well they'll tell all their friends, and then probably get government incentives to put it in place. And if we see it at the WEF, we know that it is at least the plan of basically the neo-feudalists out there to have that system in place worldwide if they can get it. So it really, I mean, realistically, if you look around the world, there's very few nations that will actually stand in the way of that. The United States of America hopefully will be one of them, at least at the state levels in some areas. I mean, I doubt the federal government will stand in the way of it, but I'm hoping that at least the state governments will give people some protection. She says she's been to Vegas once and couldn't stand it. Not very 420 friendly. I think they are now, but
I'm actually, no, she's right about that. I went to Vegas. I've been to Vegas quite a few times. I actually don't go to Vegas for Vegas, actually, Spill. I go out there because once you land in Vegas, you can go see a lot of cool stuff. The Grand Canyon's within driving distance. You can actually drive to Death Valley and go to California in that direction. There's a lot of cool stuff just around Vegas. I'm not into casinos and stuff actually at all. And she's right, it's not 420 friendly. When we landed and looked around, you could see that they had dispensaries and stuff. But they were very clear everywhere that if you were a visitor, you're not really supposed to be using it because you're not going to use it anywhere. The hotels won't let you use it. The Airbnbs won't let you use it. So really, it's just for the residents that live there. It's not really a tourist thing. So
yeah, it says you have to have a marijuana card, and
they have recreation out there. It's just
if you're a visitor, it says you're supposed to have a card.
You would have to have a friend out there because I have no idea where you would use it if you bought it in Vegas because you're in the middle of the city with cops everywhere and stuff. Yeah. Hotel rooms are definitely going to charge if you try to do it there.
Yeah.
And then, I just don't know where you would use it. So I really feel like they legalized it just for the residents of Nevada is what I think.
Interesting.
Feels like it's that way,
Mm. My buddy went down to my buddy Unibluffer. If you're out there, Unibluffer, what's up? He watches in the chat, so he watches the show and jumps in the chat from time to time, but he went to the Grand Canyon, and he said you had to pay $35 to see the Grand Canyon now. You had to pay the park service.
I don't blame them. It's actually, most of it's still run by the actual native tribes that owned it.
Probably to clean up the mess that people leave behind. You got to charge fees.
Well, one of it is it's really actually pretty hard to get there. Like, because, they don't want any sort of, they don't let anything be put in the ground except for that one thing they call the skywalk.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all natural for several miles. So like, if you had a car, it would have to be a very high quality car to even get there. Cause it's like a basically like they took the land and went with it and kind of flattened out a smooth spot, but it's not paved at all. It's just desert that's been driven over and over and over again. And it's pretty intimidating. I wouldn't drive out there. We took a bus.
Ride a donkey like Juan Valdez.
No.
Well, yeah, Spill says, luckily they had a balcony, so she was all right. There's pyramids in there. They won't let you go where they are, she says, too.
He's ballsier than me. I wouldn't have tried it.
Well, it looks like she did all right. Well, listen, y'all, that's all I've got for us for tonight. I just wanted to bring those stories to you. I thought that WDF there, the WEF, WTF, more like it. And that's stuff they really think is a good idea, and they're trying to convince us that it's a good idea. So that's all part of that smart agenda, all of the micro and macrocosm, that not only whether they want the nano machines in you, they want everything looking at you, they also want to be monitoring your brain waves from outside until they get that stuff in place. So
well, still, you should go to the Grand Canyon if you live pretty close by or whatever, because it's pretty It's pretty amazing, despite the rest of Nevada. Actually, I like Nevada. It's just 80% federal land, so I don't know where you'd go.
Yeah, not everybody. Go check that link if you want to check out that green comet. You can watch it through the telescope from Spain if it's too cloudy to see where you are. But I appreciate y'all joining us. We're going to talk the creature from Jekyll Island this Sunday. If you haven't, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and jump on the Rumble. The link is in the description. Hit a like on the video there. Give us a follow, and we'd love to have you back. And we will see you on Sunday. Tim, you got anything else before we go?
No, that's it.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Yep.